Have y'all ever felt like, you go to class, you do all the work, you show up, you participate, whatever, whatever, and you still feel like you're just like behind or like constantly just right, just something is just not right. And you're doing all the work, put all the work in, and you're just, you just feel like, you just completely exhausted. Like all your energy is just depleted, right? With that being said, I think we need to take a deeper dive into what actually burnout is and like how we define it and what it really looks like beyond the surface level, right? So I was looking at some research and they had a very nice definition of burnout here that you can see. There's also this book here called The Trauma of Burnout that I've been looking at, and it's by Dr. Claire Plumbly, and she kind of also goes over, just general definition of burnout, how it feels, what it looks like, and some solutions to start addressing the problem. So the first thing that stood out to me was this idea, once again, like I previously talked about systems. This book talks about how burnout is a system, right? It's not just this one thing in isolation, right? It is different factors that are causing these things to happen, and the fact that burnout traps you in a cycle, right? Because say as a student, right, you think, oh, right, I'm burnt out, so I'm not performing well, and now I need to do even more work, right? You're trapping yourself in this cycle of like productivity, and you think that that's the way to get out of it, but really that makes it worse. So it really is like the idea of solving systems and looking deeper than just one factor and thinking of it with the big picture in mind. Because burnout really can, eventually lead you to like physical or even mental illness. And that's usually a lot of times when we like to finally like seek help. And that's what makes burnout so like difficult to recognize, especially in the early stages. And the book talks about that, even like going from early signs to the later stages, and the fact that a lot of the times when we have stress or are feeling stressed out, right, we can like almost say all these things to kind of normalize it. And that's not the best thing to do. So for students, basically both in high school and college, you gotta think burnout can kind of look like struggling to focus, like feeling overwhelmed by how much work you have to do, feeling detached from the work that you do, loss of like motivation for even like subjects or things that you cared about, to hit this idea of like how do you stop this vicious cycle of burnout. You really have to just be realistic with what students face. And when we talk about just academia and student life, right? As you get older, you have higher workloads, and the deadlines start to increase and get a little bit more demanding. There's always that pressure there to get good grades, whether that's you thinking for yourself or your parents or whoever. And then obviously, expectations for, stuff like extracurriculars and doing clubs and internships and leadership experience and all that kind of stuff, right? And then trying to maintain like a social life between all of that, and then having to finally be like, okay, time to go to bed, and like have this period of recovery and rest to fit all of that into your life without having proper management skills, I mean, yes, you're basically signing yourself up for burnout almost, because the cycle is just like, if we really think about it, right? Say you did bad on a test, right? And now that student is probably like, oh, you know what? I didn't study enough. So let me try harder in this class, and let me overwork myself to the point where, hey, I'm studying more, but I'm not sleeping very well. So as much as you want to study, right? If you're not sleeping well, how are you going to do good on the next test, right? So the scary part is really how normalized burnout is, and the fact that chronic stress in school environments too is also there, and that's pretty normalized. So one actionable step that students can definitely take is learning how to set boundaries and how to put limits on your schoolwork and your studying and things like that. Because when those things start to bleed into your rest time and your recovery, your sleep, etc., that's when that cycle starts. And the more that we continue to let that bleed into your rest and recovery periods, right? That's when we start to see people start to just go through the motions and feel detached, things like that. So establishing clear boundaries and having cutoff times for like homework, study, things like that is definitely one step that students can take. So just to wrap up the end of the video, I wanted to make a note that I will be transitioning into live engagement as my main form of content on the channel. And one of those live engagement sessions will be about students and addressing academic topics and all of the different things like burnout, study strategies, etc. Just because I think that's a better way to engage with this type of content, and the fact that it will allow people to share their stories in real time. And that way, if you were to miss a session, the live stream would be available on my channel to watch back. So you can plan for those to be twice a week. One regarding the more discussion-based format with student mindset, and the other being a more technical session regarding subject-based content. And I will put out polls on Instagram and YouTube. So I plan for them to mainly be on YouTube, using YouTube, but I'll see what you guys think and get some feedback to see which model would fit best.